Oh, look at, oh no.
Go. So now
So we're going to talk about, we're probably going to talk about the Biden crime family.
The Chinese people. That's an insult to the Chinese people. Chinese people are one of the great civilizations. We keep saying it's unsatisfactory. You got 1.4 billion people from probably our most ancient civilization that are slaves to this totalitarian dictatorship. Okay, Mayor, tomorrow with Eric Greitens, we're going to be talking about Winston Churchill and about this whole new thing, at Churchill College at Cambridge, right? This whole thing about...
Oh, my God. Is he more orange than usual?
This awful seminar they had. And about Churchill's history,
there's a distinct oaky kind of. It looks like he just slammed his face in the powder that comes with Kraft macaroni and cheese.
Where we met. You've studied Churchill.
Totally, mostly his neckline.
For many years, you saw.
Yeah, because anybody who studied Churchill does this.
Saw Biden last night. Is that what a commander-in-chief does, Rudy Ghouliani?
No, it's just the opposite. I mean, I wrote a book on leadership a few years ago. So now I can write a book on leadership and point out what you don't do.
Yes, you're an expert.
First of all, he didn't really answer, as the Boston Globe noted. We went back to whatever they call the Trump presidency, to a boring presidency, where he answers no question. Notice he gave no definitive position on anything. We don't know when he's going to open schools or what he's going to do about it, what kind of position he's going to take on that.
He was there to talk about the funding to get it done. Without that money, without that bill passing, there are not the funds necessary to open the schools. You need PPE. You need to make sure the teachers can get vaccinated. You need to have enough of it. He's planning on doing it in the first 100 days. There is no daylight. This is silly.
No answers on anything. A Trump conference like that, we'd have 10 answers that we'd all be fighting about or talking about.
Because they would be nonsense. What answers were we getting from Trump? Maybe, yeah, stick a light bulb up your ass. Maybe we can ingest bleach.
Most importantly on China.
Yeah, that's the key part. Is the China part. I'm sorry, I have to... we would have gotten several answers from Trump, like...
We're going to be appointing very pro-crime judges.
I mean, that's definitive. You know what I mean? He would know a little something about the town he was in.
Michigan gave us Motang.
He would definitely address, how you're going to jumpstart the economy.
Once it was reluctantly aroused. It was hard to get it aroused, and it is hard to get it aroused, but we got it aroused.
He would talk about environmental policy.
Wildlife refuges. I mean, you look at this, you look at what we do with our wildlife.
Person, woman, man.
Yosemite.
With lots of answers.
I mean, I noticed from the little bit you could get with a telephone call with Z that he was very accommodating. And I have a podcast about that coming on tonight. And an op-ed.
Ew. We'll handle it tomorrow.
Piece tomorrow. I was really concerned that he didn't bring up in strong terms COVID or CCP virus and the fact that just to let him know, one of the things you do with an opponent is you let him know you know the game he's playing and you're aware of it. And he should have said to him, look, I was out of it at the time, but I realized what you did. You let all those people travel all around the world and you infected the world.
Yeah, so the bioweapon angle.
And that's on my agenda, Z. Big time. Big time. And then
that's how you do it. You come on there and you go, the Chinese party and the Chinese government intentionally released a bioweapon on the entire earth, and we are going to treat them accordingly. And then you start talking about trade deals. What trade deal are you having with a country that you actually believe attacked your country with the most successful bioweapon attack in human history and murdered 500,000 of your people? If that's what you believe, what part of this, where is their strategy beyond that? That is a declaration of war.
Also, I'm not one of these people that's playing denier.
Bridget says his makeup artist is a county mortician.
I know what you said.
Thanks,
about
Foggy.
trying to supplant us in 2049. And he would not say it the way I would say it, but,
Yeah, that's because he's an electable politician.
take your best shot, pal. But I'd want him to know those are two things.
Yeah.
We're not just sitting by watching.
But let me, I would go, because you're an advisor to Trump. Trump confronted the Chinese Communist Party on the world stage when people waking up this morning, the world leaders, I saw that last night. How would they compare Donald Trump's full confrontation with the Chinese Communist Party with not just accommodation? It's worse than accommodation. Mm-hmm. You're essentially kowtowing. You're making excuses.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, why aren't you saying that they attacked us with a weapon? Because if you did, you'd have to say that Trump actually oversaw the biggest bioweapon attack in the nation's history and allowed it to happen and then sold them corn.
It's handing a license for genocide is what it is. If you're a bad actor on the world stage and you see that, you see a license to commit mass murder.
Really? I'm sorry, are we watching old Trump speeches?
Rudy Giuliani, mayor, do you agree with Raheem Kassam? Do you think that that's what Biden did last night?
I think he assumed the normal position that Biden assumed as vice president with China. You know what that position is. And he was submissive. The best description could be submissive. A number of newspapers, even liberal ones, pointed out he never referred to him as an opponent. He did note China's desire to challenge the United States, but almost in a way that that's okay, that's all right. He didn't say, we're going to challenge you back, pal, and beat you, or something like that.
So it's the language. So because he didn't, I'm trying to grasp whether or not that's a policy aspect of things, or if Rudy just thinks that as an unelected former mayor who ran for president and never won, that the guy who got the most votes in American history, who did win after running several times and was vice president for 8 years, might actually have a strategy that actually functions beyond just being a gadfly suck up to Donald Trump.
So the reality is, on the things that Xi wants to accomplish, he looks at Biden and says, I don't have much of an opponent here. Look, if the best he's going to do about the Uyghurs is tell me...
The Uyghurs?
Well, I think the way he started it on human rights was so pathetic. He said, we must speak up for human rights, so we are. I don't know if that was just a figure of speech, but it sounds like he doesn't want to speak up for human rights, but he has to. And it's pathetic.
You're going to have the podcast up tonight.
He was saying we as a nation we have to speak up, and we are. We are representing that belief that the country should do that, as opposed to Trump basically going, as long as you buy some corn, we're cool.
Particularly,
kill our people, kill your people.
The readout from the 2-hour conversation. I want to the same town hall, different topic. He said that we're going to be basically he expects things to be better by Christmas of this year in New York City.
Better. But we'll reach some level of herd immunity or have enough people vaccinated by July. That was also part of it. But they're all shooting for Christmas is when we're wide open. Like as the fall leads in, there's going to be a rush of cases where people who didn't get vaccinated or refuse to get vaccinated or haven't had a chance to, or were out of the country or caught it someplace else, there'll be a little dust up. But and there may be areas you have to take care of if you're being an adult about it. But by Christmas, it'll be solved.
You were the greatest mayor the city ever had. Can the city of New York take the current protocols that they're going through for another year? Can the economy?
No one's expecting them to.
The people, can law and order, can the family take? If he's like, oh yeah, by Christmas, should be getting back. Can New York City take this, Mayor Giuliani?
No, New York City is right now in a spiral that there is no.
Yeah, you can hear you're there for one. We can hear the police squad. The police cars outside.
Logical prediction as to what would prevent that spiral, given the radical nature of the electorate in New York. And, people look back to when I was elected, it's a different city. We didn't have AOCs, and I don't mean just her, but that whole group of people who looks at the world as if we're a left-wing country. We should be redividing our wealth. We should be emulating Venezuela.
Yeah, that's what they're shooting for.
Very little of that.
That's what Schumer's all about.
We had old-fashioned liberalism that could be appealed to come to the middle or occasionally vote for a Republican.
And what happened to old school conservatism? The conservative Obama voter.
That hard core that went way back to electing LaGuardia, electing Lindsay as a Republican, electing me. I don't see it there right now. Now, maybe
because you guys fucked up so bad.
I'm wrong. I'm studying it because I really would like to see one of these Republican candidates get elected. The only hope is, God forbid, and you hate to say this, that things will get worse.
That's it. There you go. This is the now. We found out that Rudy Giuliani's spirit animal is Susan Sarandon. I mean, this is the same bullshit argument around the the early Bernie bro stuff that gave us Hillary Clinton and will arguably screw 2022 for them, is that they're hoping that it doesn't work out. I know Hal Sparks may not be a socialist, but I am. Yeah, no, I am not a socialist by any measure. I believe in proper democratic taxation and liberal values.
I mean, it's pretty bad right now. Subway crime. I don't know if you've been.
And socialism, like what people call socialism in this country, isn't. Period.
Seeing New York, but subway crime for the last week is the only story in the New York Post. Correctly, we've got people thrown on tracks. We have this crime going on now that I don't even remember. They just come by and punch you in the face and kick you while you're down and walk away.
Yeah, New York's never been a tough city.
They don't even
I mean, are you kidding me? Oh, nice, Cosmic Rose. That's great. I look forward to pictures. Is New York not the city where you look at somebody wrong and go, hey, what the fuck you looking at? Like, literally, you talking to me is a line that was born out of New York's attitude problem. What are you talking about?
Take anything. Just an act of total anger and domination. They just come by.
What's the anarchy about? What is
the anarchy about?
Seems like it's almost anarchy.
It goes back to my broken windows theory. This idiot in City Hall rejected the broken windows theory when he first came into office. He said he didn't believe in it. Bloomberg used the broken windows theory. Now, it wasn't mine. It was Professor James Q. Wilson of Harvard. So they all should have accepted it in New York. It came from.
Of course, Ted Cruz went to Harvard, so I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt.
Harvard. So he rejected.
Yeah, New York attitude has been a joke in movie for ages. The Ghostbusters 2 is literally about how shitty New Yorkers are to each other and strangers.
We're not going to pay attention to small crimes. On the subway, the big small crime is you don't pay the fare. Fare beating 30-40% when I became mayor. 5 weeks later, 2%. It brought down crime 30%. People that come into the subways to sucker punch you, rob you, rape you, they don't pay the fare. So you interrupt them, number one. Number two, even the ones that do come in, you identify them.
Again, I don't know why this is about how, like, Biden's town hall.
Because if they don't pay the fare, you take their picture, you take their fingerprints.
By the way, I would argue at this point that this is actually an example of how well Biden's America is going right now, because Steve Bannon is interviewing a former mayor of New York, and he is opining on the current problems of New York. Right? Normal shit. I mean, the fact that, Giuliani wants to give Biden tips is a joke. But the fact that he's talking about New York and what they thought and how his plan worked better than somebody else's, even though he's full of shit, this is normal.
Half of them turn out to...
That's who you interview. You find the mayor that used to run the place that agrees with you, and you bring him on your show and go, huh, you see, the new guy's fucking it up.
Violent felons. This idiot does away with it. And subway crime goes up 50%. Subway ridership goes down 75%.
During a pandemic.
It really went up about 180%.
Interesting math.
I mean, I tell people not to ride the subways. I have, my friend that...
It's scary. Yeah.
He can't maybe take care of himself. I make sure he gets driven home every night. Wouldn't put him on a subway if I had to walk him home.
Mayor, your podcast tonight's coming out tonight is about the CCP, about Xi and Biden. It's another Rudy's podcast on fire. How do people get the podcast? You've got the WABC.
Honestly, kudos to Steve Bannon for running this like a real show and understanding that basically these are paid spots.
Show every day at 3:00. You can get the app and listen to it. You got the weekend show, but tell people how they go to the podcast.
Rudy'sCommonSense.com, and it should be there about.
No, it isn't. Dipshit. It's RudyGiulianiCS.com.
5:30, 6 o'clock tonight. And then it'll be followed by.
Unless he's like Lindell has now bought every version.
An op-ed piece.
Op-ed tomorrow?
Then I'll follow with an op-ed piece on Rudy's commonsense.com so that we flesh out some of the things that have come up since then. Because I think this is the most important foreign policy issue. There's no doubt. I mean, I'm only saying the obvious, Raheem. China is the number one foreign policy problem we face, except for the internal possibility.
Have you seen the Chinese people? I mean, Rudy can't tell them apart, and he certainly doesn't understand that squiggly language. At least the Russians look like relatives of Steve Bannon's. You know what I mean?
Of overthrowing us. China is the only country that can challenge us.
Okay, Mayor, we got to bounce. The podcast comes on tonight. We'll talk about more about after break. Mayor Giuliani, thank you very much.
Rudy Giuliani 是最大了笨蛋.
Tom Della Baccara next.
Yeah, pass.